Fiber to the home, or FTTH, replaces older copper-based internet lines with a continuous strand of glass. Data begins as a light pulse at the operator's exchange, the optical line terminal. It travels miles of infrastructure to the subscriber's optical network terminal. The challenge is ensuring the pulse stays bright enough to read, measuring gradual loss via a link budget calculation. Every optical signal naturally fades over distance. Historically, restoring that signal required a regenerator to convert light to electricity, amplify it, and convert it back, a process that added hardware cost and latency at every stop. The EDFA, or erbium-doped fiber amplifier, removes that electrical burden. When a 1550 nanometer signal passes through this node, a pump laser excites erbium ions in the glass to trigger a release of photons. This boosts the light directly in the fiber, with no electronic conversion in the signal path. By amplifying the light itself, providers can push high-speed data out to distant neighborhoods while maintaining signal integrity. Delivering internet to those neighborhoods requires splitting the signal. Fiber to the home is usually built as a passive optical network, meaning the bandwidth is a shared resource rather than a dedicated line for every single house. Here we see an optical splitter. It takes that single bright fiber line and physically divides the glass path to serve multiple locations, typically up to 32 different homes. Physically dividing the light to share bandwidth exacts a heavy toll. As you can see by this dropping gauge, the splitter introduces the single largest power loss in the entire network. Beyond the splitters, engineers also have to join segments of cable together in the field, since fiber spools have length limits. They do this through a process called fusion splicing. Looking at this microscopic view, the light-guiding cores of these fibers are only 9 micrometers wide, a fraction of a human hair. A fusion splicer uses an electric arc to melt and align these two glass cores together. Because of this microscopic scale, even a perfect fusion splice leaves a tiny imperfection. Each splice drops a fraction of the light, introducing a rigid mathematical penalty of about 0.05 decibels per connection. We can map all of these physical obstacles into a formula. The link budget equation takes the transmitter's launch power, subtracts all the system losses from the cable, splices, and splitters to give us the final received power. For a successful connection, that final received power must remain numerically greater than the ONT's receiver sensitivity threshold, which is typically a negative number. Let's run a calculation. If our launch power is positive 3 dBm, we have 5 dB of cable loss, 4 splices at 0.05 dB each, and a 17 dB splitter loss. Will we hit our target receiver sensitivity of negative 25 dBm? Pause the video and run the numbers yourself. Let's look at the solution. The cable, splices, and splitter total 22.2 decibels of loss. Subtracting this from our plus 3 dBm launch power leaves negative 19.2 dBm. Because negative 19.2 is higher than our negative 25 dBm minimum threshold, the internet will work. Performing this exact calculation is how an engineer guarantees that a multi-million-dollar network rollout will actually function before a single cable goes into the ground. Network designers also factor in a safety margin. They ensure the final received power sits a few decibels above the bare minimum, leaving room for glass aging over time or the introduction of new splices during future repairs. This diagram illustrates the final stage. Once the surviving optical signal hits the ONT inside the home, it gets converted back into an electrical Ethernet connection, feeding the customer premises equipment and branching out to televisions, computers, and phones. Delivering gigabit speeds across miles of infrastructure depends on this mathematical balance. Every inch of glass, every splice, and every split must be managed to keep the light within its functional limits.